I got a few comments on the channel, and I'd like for you guys to be the judge. There are a lot of these different concerns that are coming in some cases, accusations that my content is either spreading lies or I'm cherry picking or something of that sort. And to be honest, if I'm doing any of that, I want you guys to call me out. Why? I want this to be one of the more accurate channels that you can get information from. It's nothing to me if I make a mistake to come out and say, yo, I made a mistake. Let's go ahead and, correct it. I hold my L's. Because to me, holding L's are actually, very easy. It's the W's that are hard to come by. So these comments really do stand out, and I wanted to go ahead and show you guys what's going on. This audience member of mine said, dude, you hate on PlayStation so much, LOL. Now, I would not say that I hate on PlayStation. If anything, I would say that I do have criticisms for PlayStation as a PlayStation player. I think what may be going on is, and I replied this person and said, what I do is I microscopically pick or nitpick PlayStation and what it is that they do. Some people interpret this as hate, but what's going on here is they're undergoing the phenomenon when people get used to preferential treatment. Equal treatment seems like discrimination. This is a Thomas Sowell quote, because at some point, a lot of PlayStation fans have been used to having their praises sung all over the place as, PlayStation being the best platform and all of this, and maybe deservedly so in the PlayStation 4 era. But things have changed, the tides have turned, and this turn of the tides, whenever you try to come in and put PlayStation and Xbox and pit them in the light that they actually are in, even in some cases using PlayStation's own depiction, people tell you that you're crazy. I literally had somebody tell me that I am cherry picking, this audience member said, and I had to blur names out. They said, you're cherry picking the stats to say who the market leader is. Now, I never said that Xbox is the market leader. I said that they are dominating PlayStation because PlayStation said that they are being dominated. That's all I said. Using the PlayStation document that was leaked in the Insomniac hack, I posited exactly what PlayStation posited, and PlayStation fans are telling me that I'm cherry picking when I'm pointing to their own overlord's documents here saying that that's what's going on. I didn't come up with this stuff. I hypothesized that Xbox was in a stronger position than it was months back before we saw this leak or the leaks that came about. But to have gone as far as saying that Xbox was dominating PlayStation, I never came to that conclusion on my own. I came to that conclusion confidently when PlayStation told us so. So for anybody to say that I am actually cherry picking is amazing to me. I'm going to keep reading the comment to you guys because this is very interesting. They said this: Xbox owns currently more live service games, which obviously will have more active users in their games. Sony games are more first-person single-player. I guess he meant to say third-person single-player experiences. A live service like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Minecraft will obviously have more active players playing than God of War, Horizon, The Last of Us, and every given month. This is a terrible, biased way to see who is the market leader, and you're cherry-picking the data. No, I said, and you got to pay very close attention to what I've said, that week in, week out, Xbox has some of the biggest, more profitable games in the market, having made one move. In their bid to actually acquire these games, PlayStation seemed to lose their minds. Thereby, their CEO ran around the world to talk to regulators to prevent them from owning these games. If these games did not prove any threat, why did Jim Ryan bother even going anywhere? Why did Jim Ryan bother saying he wanted to block the merger? If these games, of which you are saying Call of Duty number 1, Minecraft is number 10, Overwatch sometimes will show up as number 12, whatever it is, any given week on PlayStation, because these games are not just some of the biggest live service games, they are some of the biggest live service games on PlayStation's platform as well as Xbox. If this meant nothing, why was Jim Ryan running all over the place? Why were they doing an industry threat assessment? Even if Xbox did not hold even if they weren't, only afraid of, say, exclusivity and their fears were calmed by Xbox saying we're going to put Activision games everywhere, they still were afraid of the fact that Xbox was going to go ahead and put Activision games day and date on Game Pass. There was a lot that they were afraid of and are afraid of by 2027. This document has not even matured to what their biggest threat looks like. And yet, I'm getting comments from PlayStation fans saying that I'm cherry picking. I never said anything. I'm saying what PlayStation said. They said any person with a clue in marketing or economics knows that revenue is one of the best metrics for determining market dominance. Even after buying Activision for $70 billion, Sony is still the market leader. They put a source, and I said, okay, I don't know where the source is. So what you're telling me, you didn't say PlayStation here. Did you mean to say PlayStation in place of Sony? Because are we trying to go to revenue now? I never knew we were doing revenue. I was just doing marketing positioning. I was following the standards that PlayStation had set. And now it seems like the goalpost is about to move. Do y'all see that? This is one thing about the way that I put my arguments. I don't argue points, or at least I try to stay away from arguing points that I cannot back up. So now, are we going to look at Sony versus Microsoft's own revenues? Is that what we're going to do? Or are we going to look at Xbox versus PlayStation revenues? Because ideally, we don't really get much from them in terms of profits. And that's the trap. If we jump into the revenue side, we don't really know what the profit margins are in terms of different aspects. Every time they even show profits and losses, they show them on a quarterly basis. So it's hard for you to be able to go ahead and pick out exactly what's going on. However, if you want us to do that, and then I will apply myself to doing that. And if I apply myself to doing that, are you ready to follow the evidence where it leads? Because exactly what the fear was in this particular document was that when you look at it, the Sony impact here says there's a massive threat to PlayStation Plus. You just said in your own document here that revenue was the big deal, right? Then in PlayStation's own document here that leaked, they show you an upwards of $1.5 billion of annual revenue threat gap to fill. There is a threat of a financial loss of that amount that PlayStation would be pretty much in the hole for, or would not look like it did in their previous financial statements at the time they were positing this, if Activision was in the hands of Xbox. And now it's in the hands of Xbox. So there is definitely a revenue deficit that they have. Revenue deficit number one that we know of from the Activision Blizzard trial, according to reports, and I have to say according to reports, is that they were able to negotiate 20% of the Call of Duty sales. Not only that, they no longer have the premium version of Call of Duty. It's now on par all across the board. So somebody doesn't have to worry anymore that they're going to be playing a weaker or less beefed up version of Call of Duty on Xbox. They can simply go to Game Pass and play that. That by itself is a threat, and likely PlayStation saw or foresaw, or at least were thinking about the possibility that people would leave their platform should anything about Call of Duty even favor Xbox. So now that you're looking at the revenue that you're talking about, the revenue stream is a 2027 outlook. And we're still in 2024 going into 2025. And now people are wanting to talk about revenue when in reality, the ideals of the revenue package are still yet to be, highlighted. So again, this is a distraction from everything that I've said. We never talked about revenue streams and say who has the most in terms of revenue. We haven't gotten there yet. I think this, my fellow PlayStation fans, you want to draw me into an argument that I didn't make. Some of you want to make up arguments that I didn't make and then fault me for arguments that I have no reason to have made. Even though I would be happy to take you on with the revenue argument, I would love to, but we just don't have enough data to see what's out there. And again, it really gets super pedantic if we get into the revenue side, because what really matters is where I actually have my foot on PlayStation's neck, which is the games that people are playing. Obviously, Xbox has beaten PlayStation in that particular metric. PlayStation understands that they've been beaten in that metric, and they concluded Sony's pillars are already dated and behind the competition. So where is Sony winning in this particular perspective. They're winning in console sales, but they understand that console sales requires something else to beef it up. Their PlayStation Plus, which is what they've used as the biggest upward push for revenue on their platform, is under threat. Subscription, which they have, PlayStation Plus, is under severe threat from Game Pass, having Activision games day and date on Game Pass. You got to read this document and actually look at it. I think many of you PlayStation fans, you dismiss it, and so you're all misinformed. You're purposefully ignoring what is out here. And it's always, man, we didn't even, let me tell you the truth. We did not need PlayStation to come out with this data. Does that make sense? Like, we never needed it. The only reason I put this data up here is so that I can actually expose the underlying behavior of PlayStation fans to ignore data. I'm setting you up. Do you not get it? You're falling for the trap every single time. Do you not see what I'm doing? I had to even give you my game plan, and still you will make the same exact mistakes. That's why I use this document. It's not because we don't know that this is that we already, anybody with, a shred of common sense and, a shred of honesty already knows that this is exactly what's going on in the market. I just put up PlayStation's own words just so that everybody can see all of you dancing around reality, denying it back and forth, because I understand that fundamentally, many PlayStation fans cannot handle criticism on PlayStation. It's just the reality. Like, they can't. They're calling it hatred. All I'm doing is I'm just taking a microscope to everything going on. I'm looking at it now with a fine tooth and comb, because all that we've heard is the singing of the praises of PlayStation. Now it's time for us to actually say, what's been going down this generation, because this was Xbox's last stand before they could actually decide, okay, we're going to be out of this game or we're going to stay in. So they went deep, $70 billion deep, and it then exposed everything. That PlayStation had been depending on games like Call of Duty, games like Fortnite to be able to pull that 30% in. Okay, well, Xbox now owns 70% of a good number of them. How that translates in revenue, we're yet to see. And we're going to see pretty soon when things start to eventually come out. And PlayStation is responding. They're even telling us as well, trying to get live service games out there. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I can't imagine anybody blaming me, calling me a cherry picker for actually showing them what PlayStation said. This is the gaming conversation today, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you see me in a place where I use data and evidence, because that's the only way to be able to actually stay sane. Because once you have the truth, you don't have to worry about anything else. All of the rest of it is just a wash. That's all it is. I was very surprised that this, gentleman they posted, oh, PlayStation has these single player games. What's crazy is we actually have the sales numbers of these games. We can simply compare them to a game like Call of Duty and find out that every year Call of Duty is going to beat every iteration of these games. And the years when these games are staying in development, Call of Duty is going to be beating them. That's how bad this is. Like, think about it. PlayStation is spending 6 years making one game. Call of Duty is going to rack up billions of dollars fresh every 6 years and cumulative. That's why they were freaking out. It's exactly why their analysis showed this. This analysis, I think, is a soft version of what's going on. But even they themselves could admit the truth, even though they will, posture, and their goons will run, news for them like things are going great. When in reality, look at what they're writing internally. I don't know how else to say this stuff, man. But this is wild. Thanks for watching. Talk to me in the comment section. Peace out.